Well, hello everyone. I appreciate you coming out and spending some time with us here today. My name is Perry Peterson and I am a AWS Partner Development Manager dedicated to supporting the VMware Cloud on AWS service. In particular, I focus on our state and local government and education verticals. So I work directly with you as customers as well as our partners who focus on those verticals specifically. Today I'll also be co-presenting with my counterpart over here, Bruce Short, who handles our federal side of the business. So between the both of us, you have some awesome and dedicated resources that can help you navigate the VMware Cloud on AWS service and your desire to adopt a hybrid cloud infrastructure. So the writing on the wall was very clear to us, right? We constantly listen to our customers and we want feedback in terms of what challenges they're encountering as they try to move to the cloud. And what we found is that the vast majority of our public sector customers want to operate in a hybrid cloud environment. They want a nice mix of on-premise and public cloud resources to run and manage their applications and services. And they want those environments to be very tightly integrated. They don't want to have to go out and buy new hardware, new software, deploy anything on-prem that they don't have today. They want those environments to work seamlessly with what they have currently in their infrastructure. So they want that familiarity of the solutions that they run in that on-prem environment, but they also want to take advantage of some of the benefits that a public cloud provides: scalability, agility, global footprint, etc. However, as our customers tried to go out and adopt this hybrid cloud infrastructure or strategy, we saw a common set of core challenges and issues, right? First and foremost, as you try to move from a VMware-based environment into the public cloud, most notably with AWS, you have to deal with different virtual machine file formats. So if you talk about moving an application from one environment to the next, you'll have to constantly go through that conversion process. And then if you want to bring that application back on-prem for whatever reason that may be, you're also going to have to go through that process again. And that made it very difficult to put the application in the right environment at the right time. And furthermore, if we start to look at other aspects of challenges that we've encountered, we also saw that there was a big issue with incongruent networks. Most notably, when you move into the public cloud, you're now dealing with layer 3 constructs, no longer dealing with layer 2. And that broke the way we architected our applications on-prem as we brought them into the cloud. And as we started to manage these two environments, right, in the past, there really hasn't been that true hybridity. What we found is that now we added operational complexity to your environment and to your IT teams. They now had to deal with two separate sets of tools. They had to go out and learn new skill sets, and it wasn't very easy for them to make that jump. A lot of times we just didn't have the time, capital, or money to go out and get our teams educated, right? We were trying to do what we have to do on a daily basis, and that's manage the infrastructure and ensure that our core services are up and running consistently. And if we take that a step further, right, security is one of the biggest things that we see in the public sector. Security and compliance, it's a no-brainer, right? We have to protect our students and our constituents. And if you move to AWS or any other cloud provider, you now had to really look at what you were doing from a security and monitoring perspective. A lot of times what you're doing in your on-prem environment, particularly if you had a physical-based appliance, you could not bring that into the cloud. So that added further complexity to your hybrid cloud adoption. And that's what brought us to the VMware Cloud on AWS partnership. What we're doing with this service is really providing a truly differentiated service that's allowing you to quickly move into the cloud, leveraging that existing skill set and tools that you currently use in your VMware environment. And we're delivering the best of both worlds, right? What you're getting is the de facto standard in VMware from an on-premise virtualization perspective, but you're also getting the benefits that AWS provides. We talk about global scale, utility consumption, etc. We're bringing together the best of both worlds for you here. And it's important to note that this isn't something where we simply told VMware, hey, come and deploy your software on our global infrastructure. Our teams have been tightly aligned, and this solution has been jointly engineered. And the reason that we've done that is we want to provide a seamless experience for you as our customers, so that if you do have any type of issue that occurs, whether that's hypervisor through the hardware, you're going to have one person to contact, and we'll remediate the solution for you. So again, this is a deep and tight partnership where you're going to see both of our teams from an executive to an engineering level being very closely aligned as we work with you, our customers. So at a high level, what you're getting with this service is the rich VMware SDDC delivered on AWS's cloud. It's providing that consistency and familiarity of the VMware technologies that you use today, and that's enabling true workload portability. You now have the ability to pick and choose the right environment at the right time for your application, whether that's from a cost profile perspective, maybe that's also just resource, capacity, performance, etc. You can choose the right environment, and a lot of times that's as simple as doing a simple vMotion operation to move that application from your on-prem environment to the cloud and then back. And also what you're getting with this service is direct access to native AWS services. So one of the biggest things that we hear from our customers is not only do they want to get to the cloud so they have that agility and scalability, but they want to start to modernize their applications. They want to start to innovate. And we're going to give you direct access to our native AWS portfolio through a high bandwidth, low latency connection. And we're seeing a core set of benefits as we talk with our customers that really this service is enabling. And first and foremost, it's simple and consistent operations, right? With a few simple clicks, you can have a fully operational VMware Cloud on AWS environment delivered within 90 minutes. And that's going to provide that operational consistency, not only from a vCenter perspective, right? We all use vCenter to manage our VMware environment. You now have the ability to use vCenter to manage your cloud-based environment with this service. But also, if we start to extend that to third-party tools, things like Veeam for backup maybe, Commvault, even from a security perspective, if you're using solutions like Trend Micro and others, you can now have that consistency even from a third-party perspective. This service is 100% compatible with any application that you run in your on-prem environment today. So if you're running an application in your VMware environment today, you can have full confidence that if you bring that into the VMware Cloud on AWS service, you'll have that same ability. And then it's delivered as a service, right? So what I mean by that is this is all encompassing. You're not simply getting our hardware on demand, you're not getting licensing on demand, it's all encompassing, meaning we're providing the hardware, software, and support all within one monthly fee. So let us handle the undifferentiated heavy lifting while you guys focus on your applications and innovation within the organization. If we go to the next pillar, enterprise-grade capabilities, right? This service has the ability to support all of those enterprise applications that you may run in your environment today. Things like SAP, things like SQL, maybe Oracle. We have the ability to support those applications, and we've tested and validated those applications on our platform. It is important to note that we're still going through some manufacturer validations, but if you have any questions, that's what we're here for, right? We'll help you navigate those waters. And with this service, we're also providing enterprise-grade security. So I don't know if a lot of you have used NSX in the past, but we are using NSX to support the networking portion of this service. So inherently, you are going to have things like micro-segmentation to take your security posture to the next level, right? With micro-segmentation, for those who are not familiar, you have the ability to create east-west firewalling. So now if something gets into the organization, you have the ability to segment that to a certain portion of the organization and not let it spread across. And then you get the ability to leverage optimized underlying resources from AWS to support this service, which is delivering superior performance than what you typically see in past solutions that have been VMware-based. And then it's flexible and innovative. So one of the things here is that you have access to all of those AWS services on demand, but the same thing applies to the VMware SDDC environment. You can consume on an hourly basis, or you can make a commitment if you have a long-term vision of continuing to operate in the cloud with this service. So it's very flexible, and it meets the needs of your organization at any particular time. And then again, with this service, you now have that bi-directional workload portability. So the ability to take applications back and forth through a simple vMotion migration. If we look at the service from a high level, what you're getting is the exact same components that you would get in your on-premise VMware environment. So we are leveraging vSphere, vSAN, and NSX to support this service, and it is managed by vCenter. It is important to note that you do get a separate vCenter instance that is cloud-based with this service. However, we have the ability to logically connect your on-prem and your cloud-based vCenter to provide one logical interface for you to manage both environments. You simply log into vCenter and you'll see two separate resource pools, one being provided by the cloud, one being provided by your on-premise infrastructure. And you can manage both environments holistically. And as I pointed out, if you're using any type of solutions like, let's say, vRealize Suite, Puppet, Chef, others, you now have the ability to leverage those with this environment as well. And if you haven't noticed or noted, you're now on AWS's global infrastructure with VMware Cloud on AWS. We're not doing anything different than we would do with our traditional services. They are, VMware and AWS, we're leveraging bare metal EC2 instances. So you're living in the same environment that you would live in if you went to AWS. And what that is providing is a high bandwidth, low latency connection to native AWS services. So if you think about this, now I can start to take advantage of particular services that may have not been viable for me in the past from a hybrid architecture perspective. If you think about the ability to leverage maybe Amazon RDS for databases, previously you weren't going to run your web and application tiers in your on-prem environment and then the database tier in AWS if you didn't have a direct connection, and even then latency may come into play. Well, with this service, you no longer have to concern yourself with latency. Again, you'll have direct access through an ENI connection, which Bruce will talk a little bit more about here shortly, that is going to allow you to use seamlessly those native services with your VMware environment. Now let's jump into the characteristics of what VMware Cloud on AWS is. So at a high level, again, this is the VMware software-defined data center stack on demand. So vCenter, NSX, vSAN, and vSphere is exactly what you would get with this environment, just like you could in your on-prem environment. And we're leveraging the latest versions of those software components. From a vCenter server appliance perspective, ESXi, NSX, vSAN, all of the latest and greatest managed by VMware. So this means that even if we talk about the patching and management of the hypervisor components, you no longer have to worry about that. We will handle that, and we will facilitate those upgrades in a non-disruptive way. And what that's enabling is a lot of the familiar technologies that you guys use in your on-prem environment. Most notably, if you want to use things like DRS, distributed resource scheduling, high availability, HA, you have that ability now, right? And we also offer what we call elastic DRS now. So that gives you the ability to seamlessly add hosts and remove hosts based upon your resource utilization at any point in time. You also are going to get the benefit of using vSAN. So from a vSAN perspective, you now have the ability to set storage policies and characteristics at the virtual machine level. And that applies also when you take that to NSX and the networking portion of the service. Right now, we support two separate instance types with the service, one being the i3 metal and the other being the R5 metal. And what you'll find is that the R5 is going to be a little bit beefier of a server or a host, where you're going to see 48 cores, 96 cores if they're hyper-threaded, 768 gigabytes of memory per host, and then again, you'll get that 25 gigabit ENA connection into the native AWS services portfolio. With R5, the cool thing is that it is EBS backed. So this is vSAN that is EBS backed, meaning that we have additional scalability from a storage perspective. One of the biggest concerns that some of our customers had who had storage-heavy environments is that the i3s were finite in their ability to support storage scalability. With the i3s, we are using direct attached storage or host-based storage. So you were limited to the size of the vSAN, the vSAN's data store that you could support. If you needed additional storage, you had to add another host, which came with additional compute resources as well. Well, the R5s give you some additional scalability on the storage standpoint. And if we talk about target use cases, we're seeing a variety of use cases, but we do see 4 core use cases that really are pretty common across our customer base. And the first and foremost is cloud migrations. So one of the biggest things that we hear from our customers, particularly in state and local government, right? We have cloud first mandates where we have to quickly get out of the data center, and we have to do that in a very rapid fashion. Well, this is a perfect use case. VMware Cloud on AWS enables you to quickly take what you're doing in your on-premise environment and rapidly move it to the cloud. You don't have to go through the re-architecting, the rewriting, or restructuring of the application. You can quickly take exactly what you do in your on-prem environment and move it to AWS. So this can be data center wide. You may have an aging infrastructure or a physical facility that is going away. Well, again, hit the vMotion button, you can move your applications over. This may be application-centric. Maybe you're deploying a new application where you need additional capacity, or maybe this is simply just an infrastructure refresh that you're going through, and this is a perfect time for you to make that transition from a on-premise capital-based infrastructure to a more operational expenditure based environment, giving you more flexibility and scalability. We also see this service used for data center extension. So this is really all about burstability and cyclical capacity. This may, again, from an education perspective, this may be something like around enrollment time or finals time. You may need additional capacity for a very short period of time. You can instantly add hosts within your VMware environment, or you can instantly extend what you're doing in your on-prem environment to the cloud for that short period of time, and then scale back when those resource requirements subside. On a state and local government side, this could be very applicable during times where we're going through elections, right? Where we have to have, again, that finite capacity for a very short period of time. Or maybe it's for test dev. Maybe you guys are trying to really innovate at this period in time. You're trying to develop new services, maybe increase your physical footprint. You have the ability to do that with this service as well. And the biggest use case we're seeing is really disaster recovery. So for a lot of our customers, disaster recovery has always been a goal, but it's been very infeasible, both from a hey, from a physical floor space perspective, you may not have the physical infrastructure to deploy those servers, hosts, and software, or maybe you just don't have the people to manage a secondary data center, handle the patching, the configuration, the maintenance of that environment. Well, with VMware Cloud on AWS, we give you full capability to support that disaster recovery environment, and then pair it with familiar solutions like Site Recovery Manager to have automated failover capabilities. I personally like disaster recovery as well because it really helps you start to think about how you can pair your VMware environment with native AWS services. Let's say that you don't need automated failover for a lot of your applications. Well, you can simply maybe go with more of a backup and restore type of approach where you seed your backups into an S3 bucket, and then if you do have a disaster, you simply go in, spin up a VMware Cloud on AWS environment, and then rehydrate those VMs with the data that lives in that S3 bucket. It is going to lead to lower RPO times, right? Or higher RPO times and more extended RTO times. However, it's really about you and the business and what you need. So we're giving you that flexibility to reduce costs, but still have that protection that you guys need from a DR perspective. And then last but not least, next generation applications. And this is really all about augmenting your VMware environment with those native AWS services. Again, whether it's leveraging S3 for simple backup and restore, maybe we want to use RDS to get rid of those old guard databases like Oracle and SQL, you're now going to get instant access to that native AWS portfolio. And this service is global. So we now operate in every major region throughout the world, and we continue to expand this service into additional regions. Our goal is to be in all of the AWS regions that are available today with this service. Most notably, if you look at this map, we're probably going to be segmented to the US, but depending on your use case, we have a data center that can fit the bill, right? If you want something that is very close to your infrastructure so you can reduce latency, we have the ability to support that type of architecture. However, if we're looking to support DR initiatives, we would likely want a data center that's across the US or geographically located elsewhere than our physical data center. And we can support both of those. But this just talks about the commitment as well that VMware and AWS have to this service, right? We continue to expand and we continue to iterate on the service, and the regional availability is just one aspect of that. And then what's most important to us, right? With this service, not only are you getting all of the abilities to leverage those familiar security solutions you may use on-prem, micro-segmentation from an NSX perspective, but we as AWS and VMware are rapidly going after security and compliances that pertain to you as our public sector customers. So right now, we do have several ISO certifications, several SOC certifications. We are GDPR compliant. We have the ability to sign HIPAA BAAs. And I think one of the most important ones that we're really going after here is the FedRAMP High certification or accreditation. And we're currently in process, but this is a huge one for us, right? Because I think, especially for our federal customers, this really makes this service viable for them. And at that point in time, I'm going to turn it over to my counterpart, Bruce Short. Oh, got it.
Thank you, Perry. Excellent introduction to the core services from VMware Cloud. What I'd like to expand on is the core capabilities. As we talk about the SDDC, and Perry did a great job of covering that all those AWS services, the package deal is an SDDC, an account with your full VMware stack running in it, but they're also that adjacent account that holds all the AWS services. So it provides an immense amount of value. So we're going to talk about speed of migration. How do I move fast? What are the tools? Some of those good things. So no doubt, vMotion is one of the inherent things that a lot of us has used for migrations to and from data centers. But with this capability, you can actually extend your VLAN up to the network with hybrid link mode and do those vMotion moves up to the cloud. Also, we'll talk about HCX in a few minutes to expand on those capabilities. Perry talked about consistent operations. Not retooling, using your tools you have today, your experience and all that stuff is key in making your migrations risk-free, low friction, and the ability to move fast. And I'm going to expand on the AWS services. Really key things that you can do once you typically do that lift and shift is pretty much what you're doing with vMotion or HCX. So you're not really changing your application, it's like for like. But it's going to give you the ability to start doing things with that legacy application that you couldn't do on-prem because of the AWS services that are available to you. So what's the biggest problem we have with migrations, or if I have to expand my environment on-prem? A lot of us are constrained in our on-prem environment. We don't have enough spare physical access or physical boxes to deploy more VMs. When we have to go get them, typically our procurement times are long. Some of the numbers up here are probably on the lower side. I've had customers go from 6 to 9 months at times in the federal or public sector space based on budget constraints or just the procurement cycles to get from getting a box in the door, rack, stack it, get the VMware software on it, and expand. That doesn't work well when you've got special projects that come up or activities that are quarterly or yearly end where you're running hot in your cluster and you don't have ability to expand and move quickly. That's where VMware Cloud gives you not only the ability to expand to the network, but if you need to expand within the cloud, you can add nodes within 5 to 10 minutes. Simple requests, they're turned up and available to you to expand your VM set or your compute stack. So it's a very powerful way to be able to expand up, and when you're done with that, take it out if you don't need it any longer. So true cloud-like utility-based computing. The other piece I want to hit on too, because there's a time to value structure and a cost structure in any of your migrations. If any of you guys that have done really big migrations of data center to data center or data center to cloud know significant planning and application dependency mappings. How do I move applications from point A to point B? I'm getting on new hardware. I got tech refresh coming in. All those type things drive significant cost. Third-party support to get you planning and make sure everything's covered. And sometimes even those third parties are doing your migrations for you. So there's always that cost bubble and duration of time to get that done, whether it's you're moving 10 applications or workloads or hundreds because you're shutting down a data center. So where does VMware Cloud come in there? So when you look at VMware and what it can do, because it is like for like, you're pretty much taking all that training and all that risk out of the picture. You know what you're dealing with, same platform, same look and feel, and management tools. Very easy to do the drag and drop, move applications. With HCX that we'll talk about how you can move mass migrations of applications. So the benefits there are great and de-risking your migrations. So you're definitely leveraging your current skill sets and driving that through to conclusion. But that time to value, we've had customers move customers that have moved hundreds upon hundreds of VMs over a weekend, seamlessly, no downtime. That's the value of VMware Cloud. So when you talk about going to the cloud and the risk and the retraining and some of those things that we struggle with because we don't have a lot of time to train our people, this is an excellent step into the cloud. Get yourself up there, reduce some of your costs, and look at ways to expand. So HCX is a SaaS solution that comes with the product. It's designed to help you migrate in mass in and out of the cloud, so you get application mobility. If you've got the need or business requirements to move stuff up, move it back down, HCX is the tool for you. Very powerful. It'll allow you to run on dissimilar vSphere environments from 5x up to the current. So you can have old versions. NSX is not required if you're not running NSX. So this is a tool that you can put in place and plan your migrations, and it'll help de-risk that and also move it in scheduled times as groups. Helps you a lot, and you're not doing the single moves, VM move type structures. And it is bi-directional, so very powerful tool. It also does a lot of stuff on the networking side, setting up automatic VMs, being able to take whatever connectivity you have and group it together and manage that connectivity and optimize it for the migration. So you're moving data at the right times with low impact to your network. So Perry touched on a little bit on the application, on the S3 side, or not S3, but the AWS services. We have over 165 services plus in AWS. A lot of them are core services that are foundational, but a lot of application-based services, whether it be serverless and compute or other. S3 is one of the core. A lot of people use S3, object storage for various things, running web services, backup to the cloud, like Perry talked about. Put your cold storage there in our Glacier component of it, so you can store your archive files under compliance. But what this depicts is your, over on the right-hand side there is your VMware managed environment, your SCDC, and there's multiple ways to connect to that. By default, you've got the ability to go across that cross-account E&I that Perry talked about. If you know AWS Services well, these two environments, these two accounts and environments, this is the solution, is set in there in a way that there's no egress charges across these accounts, and it's high speed, low latency connectivity. So it gives you the option to use any of those AWS services with low latency and no concerns about connectivity. It's traversing our backbone, secure and tight. In this case, what you see there is connectivity going back through the AWS account and out to S3 through a private endpoint, which is one of your options in AWS all day long. It keeps it secure, it's all great. Keeps it within the region. If you've got business need to expand out beyond the region for S3, because you have buckets in different regions around the globe or in the US, different regions, you've got the ability to disable that and run it right through your IGW out of the SDDC account. So there's a lot of flexibility in how you can use S3, connect to it. Part of the points here is these accounts work together. These services work together. That's what the beauty of the cross-account E&I, and it gives you the ability to start looking at what am I doing with my legacy application that I lifted and shifted up there last week? How can I add services to that, augment it, and then bring that, add functionality for the business? Another good example of this, Perry brought up this, but our endpoints, RDS, EFS, and other endpoints that we have within the services, connecting to an RDS account, or relational database service. A lot of customers are coming up, they've got old legacy databases, or they've always been on a relational database. Maybe they want to go to NoSQL and optimize that database environment based on their data sets that they've never considered before. Great use cases for that, in the sense that I can connect to them right across the ENI, do a data, we have tools to do data migrations to any of those databases that we support, which is a vast number, and gives you that flexibility to start breaking that application down and modernizing it in a very efficient manner. EFS is also one of those if you want to map drives. One of the big ones I'm seeing right now is what I call, we always talk about connecting Our connectivity into these environments are from DX or VPN connectivity, standard AWS connectivity, which is supported for a TIC connection according to your business construct, or CAP if you're in the DoD. So it's all compliant in that way. Off of DX, you can create private VIFs to your public and private resources. You can typically, it's going to be directly connected to your SCDC from the front side, but you have the ability to connect it also to your other adjacent count and route traffic, different ways to give flexibility according to your application workloads. This is a great example of taking an application that may have been on-prem and had some hard physical boxes, for application protection or web application firewalls. Once you put it in the cloud, you could front that from the AWS side, do your routing, set it up so that you've got an application load balancer that routes it to the specific workload back in the SDDC, and then say, hey, I want to make sure I put a web application firewall in front of that, run it from as a service within AWS, and also our AWS Shield. So then you've got your good DDoS protection and also malicious software and all that stuff protecting that application, where you might not have been able to do that same type function within the SDDC. So it gives you a lot of capabilities to think about. The goal here is really expanding your mindset. When you look at the SDDC, everybody's talking about, hey, I'm like for like environment. That's super, it's great, it's fast to get up there, a lot of value. Don't forget about the AWS side of it, because there's a lot of things you can do to augment those applications, lower your costs, drive more value into the business from augmenting those applications. So definitely accelerate the innovation side of things. Application restructuring, big thing, which I think we're talking about over here, is serverless compute. Breaking down your legacy applications into microservices so you can start putting them in more cloud-like functions. And this will give you the ability to do that, because you're sitting right there in an adjacent account and all those services there that you can leverage. Definitely responding faster to change. We have customers that have had colos that are expiring in 6 to 9 months, thousands of workloads in those data centers. They want to get out. VMware Cloud puts you in a platform, because it's like for like, and HCX and all the tools that we've talked about. The ability to move hundreds and hundreds of workloads over a weekend really puts you in a position that you can't do in native cloud that fast. You can mitigate all that cost structure and those and that risk of being in that data center that's either old, needs to be retrofitted, or you just need to get out because of cost profile. M&A activities are a great one. Not much of that happens in the public space, but it is a situation that is time bound. So if you have any business drivers that are time bound to get out of a data center and you're running VMware, great move to use that for that piece. And then optimizing your costs. No doubt, cloud, you're going from CapEx to OpEx, shifting that, and then your application portability. A lot of people talk about, I need to move stuff up. It's great, but I also want the option to move it back down for DR purposes or other. You have all those capabilities here within the platform. So how do you get started? Definitely look at what Perry and I have talked about today. Understand how your business, what you're trying to do within your IT strategy around data centers, cloud. What's your gaps today in your application portfolio? How can the VMware Cloud enhance that and the adjacent services that AWS has? You're getting the best of both worlds with this solution set. And there's a lot of availability and power there to really transform your business and your end users' use of that. So definitely take advantage of it as you can. Definitely reach out to Perry and I. We'll make ourselves available after this meeting and discussion, and we can help you, guide you through that. Product's been out in the marketplace now for almost 2 years, so it's pretty mature, good roadmap of other functionality coming. So we've got a lot of good examples from other customers, what they've done, lessons learned and stuff to help you learn and move faster. So we thank you. Please reach out if you need anything, and complete the survey if you can, please.